Back to the escape part. Anyways, I peeked in the living room, found the night watch guy lounging in front of the TV, sipping coffee from a thermos, popping chips in his mouth one at a time and wiping his greasy fingers on his pants. I could smell weed coming off of his clothes too, and his eyes were all dopey. Get past the fat stoner, I told myself, and I'm a free man again. Just the thought of being able to go wherever, whenever, made butterflies come into my stomach. It isn't until you're sentenced to a place like this, by the way, that you can know what kind of busters they got working night shift. This mustache-faced fool had a big-ass beer belly, a tight Batman t-shirt with sweat stains under both arms, and a damn feathered mullet. He didn't take his eyes off the TV even once the whole time I was watching him. He was just giggling at some old episode of America's Funniest Home Videos. Still, man, it wasn't going to be easy getting past the living room without him catching me in his peripheral. Another couple minutes went by before I decided I had to use my mind on him. I squinted my eyes up real tight and thought crazy hard, and after only a minute or two, something happened. The guy bent over, choking on a chip, coughing and pounding himself on the chest with the inside of his fist and sucking down coffee, trying to wash it down. I snuck by easy, keyed open the office door with the long key and quietly pulled it shut behind me, locked it, pulled out the short one to open the door where Jaden keeps the petty cash. And there it was, man, right inside the petty cash tin. It didn't even have to go searching or nothing. The fat leather envelope full of cash for Alcatraz in that fancy restaurant Jaden told us about was just sitting there on top, waiting for me. It had the name Lighthouse on the front and the house address and phone number. I unzipped the zipper and looked inside, flipped through the bills, felt the weight. I counted it real quick, $750. I'd never held so much damn paper in my life. I zipped it back up, shoved the whole thing in my jeans pocket, and stepped to the window. Pulled it open, unscrewed all the bolts on the bars, and tossed everything into a flower bed outside. I was just about to climb out myself when I turned and peeped Jaden's desk. I stared there for a few seconds and then looked over at the spot on the wall I always looked at whenever I sat here, the cocoon or whatever. I thought about how I'd never see it again. It's so weird how a little thought like that, about a cocoon shape on a wall, can make your entire body feel like jello. I told myself I should go on already, pull myself through the window and be out, but something inside my head was stuck. I hurried back over to the desk, pulled open a different drawer, and rifled through all the residents' files, looking for mine. I found it, yanked it out, and tucked it under my arm, closed the drawer. I stood there for a few seconds thinking, and then I opened the drawer back up, rifled through the files again, and pulled Mong's and Rondell's too. Right then there were footsteps outside the office door and the sound of keys rattling. I slid close the door quietly, tucked all of our files in my bag, and damn near dove head first through the window into the flower bed. I got to my feet next to the window bars and ducked around the side of the house to meet Mong and Rondell. "Where were you?" Mong said when he saw me. "We almost just left." I pulled the petty cash envelope out of my pocket and held it up. He stared at me a sec, and then a look of understanding came over his face, and he nodded. "What's that?" Rondell whispered. "The petty cash," I whispered back, peeking around the corner for the night watch guy, but he wasn't there. The window was completely empty. "The what?" he said. "Money, Rondell. American currency." "Oh, damn. Good thinking, Mexico." "Hello," the night watch guy finally yelled from the window. He couldn't see us, though, and ducked his head back in the house. The front porch light came on and more dogs started barking. "Let's go," Monk said, pulling his hood over his head. Me and Rondell pulled our hoods up, too, and we took off sprinting down the street. Before we rounded the corner, I looked back over my shoulder and saw the night watch guy bumbling into the road in front of the house, but he didn't chase after us. He just stood there with his cell phone pinned against his ear, probably calling the cops. And the house looked so different from the outside. Like you'd never know it was a group home full of bad kids unless you were sentenced to be there. But at the same time, it stood out, too. It was faded yellow with black trim, while all the other houses around it were white or gray or beige. Jaden wasn't lying, I thought, as me and Rondell followed Mong down a side road and I turned my eyes forward again. I hadn't really thought about it, but our pad really did look like a lighthouse. We sprinted through the streets of San Jose in our black sweatshirts, hoods up, hands all sharp like we were competing in a damn Summer Olympics. We heard sirens in the distance as Mong led us through a couple dark, weed-infested alleys, over a narrow wooden bridge, through a fenced-off construction site, down a long and into a big mall parking lot. We zipped past a few sleeping cars and ducked behind a trash dumpster, threw our bags down and bent over, gasping for air and laughing, hearts beating in our throats. There probably wasn't anybody following us once we cut out of our own neighborhood, but what the hell, man? If you're gonna break out of someplace like a group home, you might as well break out. Plus, our adrenaline was going crazy. I pulled my hood off and caught my breath, and Rondell did the same, but Mom kept his up, and he couldn't seem to catch his breath at first, or stop coughing. "You all right?" Rondell asked him after a minute or so. Mom looked up at us and smiled. "Of course I'm all right," he said. "I'm free." When he finally got his breath, he reviewed what was supposed to happen next again, though by this time I pretty much had it memorized. He'd gone over it with us every single lunch for the past 5 days outside on the far cinder block. How his cousin would show up in her red Acura and drive us all the way down to the mountain. How some guy he knew from juvie would pick us up from there and take us to this resort near Rosarito. How we would get work there right away on the local fishing boats, live for mad cheap, and meet all kinds of tourist girls from every. While he was talking, I thought in my head how weird it was that some Chinese kid knew 10 times more about Mexico than I did, and I was supposedly from there, or at least my family. That shit didn't seem right to me. "Soon," Mom told Rondell, "you guys will be living brand new lives on the most perfect beach in all of Mexico." "And you too, Rondell." Mom spit in the bushes and turned his eyes on me this time. Only me. "Yeah," he said, that crazy smile he gets slowly coming over his face. "And me